and relax, okay? So one of the first things that you can do is your breath. Any of you that have ever taken a yoga class, you know that yoga starts with the focus on your breath. One of the reasons it does is to interrupt that flow of what yoga refers to as the monkey mind, where your mind is like literally jumping from branch to branch. I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh my God, I forgot to do that. That needs to quiet down. And one of the first ways you can do that is to focus on your breathing, because it's going to interrupt that process of the mind swinging from one thought to another. So you can simply just sit. Now I know you're going to say, I have all of these things going on and the kids are screaming and the dogs need to go out, but you're going to need to give yourself a little space to try and calm yourself down. It can be 10 seconds, it can be 30 seconds, it can be a minute or 10 minutes, whatever you can manage. This is really essential because it's going to give you a sense of self-efficacy, a sense of you having some control. So there's something called square breathing. You can look up all of these things. Square breathing is simply an inhale for a number of counts, hold your breath for the same number of counts, and exhale, same number, and hold your breath. So picture a square. So do it with me for just a minute here, and let's use a count of 4, okay? So just get comfortable, take an inhale and an exhale. Try to remember to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. So do an inhale for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you need to do this a couple of times. It will slow your respirations. It will start to slow your heart rate. That gives a signal to your body to stop producing those chemicals that told you to run away and flee. And you've also shifted your focus. So you're not ruminating on all of these thoughts, but focusing on your breath. Another thing that you can do literally to bring in more energy and shift that focus, I'll demonstrate it for you, is literally put your hands up, if you can see me, put your hands all the way up, and when you bring them down, it's like you're grabbing the air, and you do 3 sets of 10 where you're breathing in and out quickly through your nose. So it looks like this. So I'm breathing quickly in and out through my nose, and as I'm breathing in, exhaling, I'm grabbing the air and bringing it down. So you're also getting your blood flow going. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 3 sets of those, except you're breathing in and out through your mouth. Again, you are oxygenating your blood, and you're interrupting that mind focus, the anxiety, the ruminating, the worry. You're shifting your focus. So you can do the square breath. You can do this kind of breathing. And you'll see instantly, you kind of snap out of it. You can also, in your workspace or wherever you are, employ scents. So this is a little bottle of air Detox. It has, I think, eucalyptus and mint and menthol. Lavender is really good for calming your nerves. You can put a little bit of essential oil on you, or you can breathe these things in. There's also a technique about changing your facial expression, which can kind of instantly change your mood. I mean, think about how you feel when your favorite song comes on the radio and you start singing, and instantly you feel better. All of this is to say you can interrupt again that those obsessive thoughts, the anxiety, the stress, the worry. So do this little experiment with me. Okay? So imagine you are walking down the street in times when you don't have to wear a mask, and you see someone that you know, and you want to just acknowledge them. And you have a pleasant smile on your face. So experience what it feels like to just acknowledge that person and have that pleasant smile on your face. What would your face look like? What does that feel? Okay, it's kind of nice, pleasant. Now, imagine you're walking down a different street and you unexpectedly run into someone that you haven't seen in years, and you are surprised, pleasantly surprised, really happy. What does that look like? What does it feel like? You know, you kind of have that look on your face like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you, right? Last, imagine what it feels like and what your facial expression looks like when you look down and realize you have the winning lottery ticket, or your team just won the Super Bowl, right? All you have done is change your facial expression, change what your mind is focused on, and you feel different. You feel energized. These are all ways that you can tap into strategies, little tips, little skills to snap yourself out of it when you recognize you're that juggler and balls are starting to fall. It's too much. You are feeling overwhelmed. You are feeling sad, depressed, anxious, worried, fill in the blank. It's really up to you to find ways to recognize when you need to snap out of it, reset, reboot. You don't have a magic wand. Nobody does. No magical powers, no magic wand. You're not going to make the pandemic go away. You're not going to make your loved one suddenly not have Alzheimer's disease or another type of dementia. You're not going to magically make your toddler not a screaming hot mess. This is about how you react to stressful situations and understanding what happens in the body if you don't take steps to manage it. So one other statement about what happens under the fight or flight mechanism, and that excess adrenaline that you no longer need, and the cortisol that it produces, and all the cascading effects in your body. That gets into your cells, it gets into your tissue. And to get it out of your body, you literally need to flush it out. So think of water, think of flush. And there are 3 ways that you can help expel these excess hormones and chemicals in your body that your body doesn't need and that actually becomes toxic to you. And they're all liquid. So you either cry, you pee, or you sweat. Think of liquid, think of flushing, needing to expel. So hence the term a good cry is truly a true statement. It's cathartic. It helps to let your mind, your body know, I am expelling this. You know how you feel after you've had a good cry? That kind of, oh my God, exhaustion? Because your body's gotten rid of a lot of stuff it needs to get rid of and not hold on to. You know how you feel after you go for a walk or a run or take a whatever kind of class. Sweating is good for you. It purges, it flushes the system. And then pee, drink a lot of water. So one thing about peeing, you can drink a lot of coffee, you can drink a lot of wine, no judgment. Just drink things that help hydrate you, not dehydrate you. So I'm not saying don't have that glass of wine. I'm all for it. But we're talking about balance. We're talking about balance. So you need to hydrate. So mostly we're just talking about water. And that's how you can also help your body to expel what it doesn't need. You're not fleeing from that saber-toothed tiger. You don't need that surge of adrenaline. and then that cortisol in your system. What you need is balance. So before we move on to the 4-step solution, one last word about balance. When, especially in caregiver support groups, and you find people who are just wildly out of balance, and there are so many fires to put out, they don't even know where to start. Start with basics. Right now, basics. Have you had enough water to drink today? If you've had your cup of coffee, which I have, then you have to have enough water. Coffee has wonderful nutrients. It's also dehydrating. Okay, so you need to balance that out with enough water. You need enough sleep and rest. That's when cells repair at night. You have to have enough sleep and rest. I understand that's a tall order. Talk to your doctor, maybe try some melatonin, go to bed earlier, whatever you need to do in order for the human mechanism, homeostasis, to stay in balance. You need to be hydrated. You need to have enough rest. You need proper nutrition, proper nutrition. So now that we're all at home, you know, we reach for those comfort foods. I discovered I could bake. Who knew I could bake? I made cookies. They were really good. Okay, have the cookie. But a sustainable model can't be eating cookies all day. You need micronutrients that are going to feed your cells. You need some really good nutrition. You need to move your body. Even if you're not going out of the house, have your own little dance party, walk up and down the stairs. You can do chair aerobics where you are lifting up and down, or I don't know if you can see my legs, where you're just literally lifting. You need, because that's going to circulate your blood and oxygenate your blood, you need to be moving. And then you need something to look forward to that lifts your spirits. Something each day that you're going to look forward to. So mine right now, I'm literally not going out unless I walk the dog. Once a day, I so look forward to. The weather's nice here in LA, getting out, walking the dog, looking at the flowers that are in bloom, listening to music. You got that good vitamin D through the sun on your skin. The things I want you to try and take away from this is that as human organisms, we need to be in balance. Think about when you don't feel well, you go to the doctor to see what's going on. What's one of the first things a doctor is going to do? Going to take your blood and your urine to look at your metabolic system and see, where are you out of range? Where are you out of balance? Out of balance can lead to disease. So think about balance. Think about the things that are right there in your control. Drinking enough water, having something to look forward to, put on your favorite music, go for a walk, breathing, spray something in the air, change your facial expression. You have control of all of this. You have control of these things. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. That's my presentation on the need to manage stress and tension. So before I move on to employing the 4-step solution, which also talks about managing stress and tension, Alex, any questions, anything specific to what I have been talking about before I move on?
Yeah, so folks, please feel free to drop in your questions in the Q&A, and we can push those to Janie. And if anybody's also interested in additional resources related to any of the tips that Janie shared, we're happy to also follow up, you know, on the importance of sleep and, for example, tips for optimizing sleep habits, breathing exercises. I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, I appreciate about what you're sharing, Janie, is really do what you can in the moment. And really, even if it is just a very, you know, even just 30 seconds just to reset is a good reminder for all of us, especially when we're caregiving.
Exactly. This is not to add a burden to anybody's to-do list, right? you're overloaded with things to do. This is to be empowering, to say, okay, I recognize when I am just out of balance and I need to reset. I'm going to step out of the room. I'm going to go into the bathroom for a minute and put on part of my favorite song, or look at my face in the mirror and do these facial expressions, this quick breathing. It's meant to empower.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions, but please feel free to pop them in at any point in time, and we'll move into the 4-step solution.
Okay, so this is a strategy, a paradigm, a way of thinking about dealing with someone who has dementia that I have developed over years of working with these clients and with their caregivers. So dovetailing on what we were just talking about, I'm going to share the 4 steps with you, and then I'm going to demonstrate using an example, a vignette. And if you've got an example you'd like me to try it with, happy to try. Again, I wish this were a solution or a cure for dementia. It's not. It is a tool for you as a caregiver to use when you're interacting. So here we go. Step 1. I want you to reframe your goal for each and every interaction that you have with a person who has dementia, literally across the board. Whether you live with this person, you're calling them on the phone, you're doing your FaceTime, whatever it is, your goal for each and every interaction you have with a person that has dementia is simply to minimize your stress and tension. That's it. That's your only goal. And you use this as a kind of snap out of it, reframe, because you might think that your goal is to get mom to take her medications or take her to the doctor. Or that might be part of it, but your initial goal, step 1, I'm going to minimize my stress and tension in each and every interaction I have with a person who has dementia. Okay, I buy that. Step 2, how am I going to reduce my stress and tension when I'm interacting with a person who has dementia? Step 2, never, ever argue with a person who has dementia. Don't do it. You can't win. It's a waste of your time and your energy, and it sets up conflict. What you're looking for in your journey, your overarching long-term journey with a person who has dementia, is you're looking to create an ally, not an enemy. Okay? When you argue with a person who has dementia, you're putting them on the defensive. One of the reasons you can't win is something that's referred to as consensus reality. So those of us that are on this call right now are in consensus that today is Friday, it's April 24th, it's whatever time it is in your time zone, and we're here together to talk about ways to deal with and manage stress and tension and deal with dementia. We're in agreement, okay? Because our minds will allow us to be in agreement. When you are dealing with a person who has dementia, oftentimes they experience disorientation to time, to place, to self, to other. It's not an equal playing field. And since they can't change their mind, you might be very frustrated in thinking that they're just being stubborn and manipulative, but in fact, dementia often robs people of that ability to be oriented to time and place. Since they can't change their mind and you can, the heavy lifting is on you. That is just the reality of the situation. So you never argue with a person who has dementia because you're not starting from an even playing field. You can't win, and often you're going to end up with an enemy, not an ally. Okay? Step 1, my goal is to get through each and every interaction with a minimum amount of stress and tension. Step 2, how am I going to do that? Not going to take the bait. I will never argue with a person who has dementia. Step 3, how am I never going to argue? How does that work? You join in their reality. You join in their reality. Whatever it is, don't make them wrong. You're setting yourself up or someone who's either going to get very defensive or shut down, but you are creating an enemy and you desperately need that person to be your ally. So you're going to join in their reality. If they tell you that the sky has purple polka dots, look at the purple polka dot sky. Get right in there with them. They can't change their mind. You can. You're the one that has to make that shift. Step one, minimum amount of stress and tension, regardless of whatever the activity is. Step two, how do I do that? Don't argue. Never. Step three, if I'm not going to argue, you jump into their reality. Step four, how do I jump into their reality? This is probably the simplest of the steps, but maybe the hardest to do. Whatever they say, you acknowledge it. You acknowledge it with something in the affirmative. It can be yes, okay. It can be huh, it can be anything that communicates, I heard you. I heard you. Listening is an act of respect. Okay? You want to communicate to that person, I heard you, and I'm here to try and help you. A lot of people get hung up with saying yes to something because they feel like they're saying, their loved one says, I'm going to get in the car and drive to the grocery store, and they don't drive anymore, and you say, yes. You're not giving them permission. You're not agreeing with them. You are simply communicating that that person said something. They have a need, they have a want, and you heard them. You are building that bridge of ally, not enemy. I'm going to demonstrate this in a minute and give you a vignette to show you how to apply it. Okay? There actually is a step 5. Because it's what comes after, right? And step 5, I'd like you to think of it as kind of improv. It really is when you join in someone's reality, it's like they're giving you a scene and saying, go. And you can, over time, as you get used to this, kind of have fun with it. Use your imagination. There is a website, by the way, called inthemoment.com, which is about using improv in various situations to problem solve. And one of the situations that they really focus on is dealing with dementia. Fascinating. Okay, let me demonstrate this so it'll make it a little bit clearer for you, okay? So let's say you are a spouse, you're a wife, and you are married to a man in his mid to late 70s, and he has moderate stage Alzheimer's disease. That's your sort of your platform, okay? And the scene is that you wake up and the first thing you see is your husband standing in front of the mirror with a button-down shirt tying his tie. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning and he's standing in front of the mirror, clearly getting dressed. Okay, and you open your eyes and you say, what are you doing, sweetheart? And he says, I'm getting dressed to go to work. That's your scene, right? Then a man, moderate stage, Alzheimer's disease, and retired for years. He's getting dressed to go to work. Okay, step 1, even if you just woke up, I'm going to get through this with a minimum amount of stress and tension. Step 2, I'm not going to argue with him, right? Let's just say, though, that I wasn't employing these steps. And I might say to him, lovingly, calmly, with wonderful, caring intention, oh, sweetheart, you don't go to work anymore. I mean, that's really kind of your knee-jerk reaction, is to tell someone the truth. The unintended consequence of telling someone the truth when they haven't asked you, do I go to work anymore? They're just telling you. This is my reality. I'm getting dressed to go to work. The unintended consequence of telling that person the truth is you're going to cause them shame, which might be the last thing that you intended, right? You don't want to cause them shame. what happens when you cause someone shame? Probably he's going to react in one of two ways. He's either going to get really mad at you. What are you talking about? Of course I go to work. Or he's going to shut down. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I can't remember anything. I might as well be dead. Either one of these, neither one of these is what you want, okay? You've absolutely thrown a grenade in there and created an enemy, not an ally. But a caveat, if you say you go to work and he looks at you and says, I don't go to work anymore, that's an invitation into his reality. If you're invited, then you have to decide in the moment, can he tolerate it? Can we tolerate it? What will happen if I say to him gently, calmly, you don't go to work anymore? It's a choice you have to make in the moment. But assuming you're employing the 4-step solution, I'm going to keep this minimum amount of stress and tension. I will not argue. I will join in his reality. How do I do that? I acknowledge him. So he says, I'm getting dressed to go to work. And you say, okay. Okay, so you're not challenging him. You're not making him wrong. You're an ally. You're going through this. You have acknowledged he has said something. Now what do? Now comes the bob and weave and get creative and improv. And you might say something like, well, okay, but before you go to work, you need breakfast. And we don't want you to get anything on your nice clothes. So maybe just while you're having breakfast, let's put a shirt on you, a different shirt on you. The heavy lifting is on you. The way to move this forward is on you. But what you're investing in that example, and maybe we want to do more examples, is creating this ally, not an enemy. Creating someone who is going to move through this journey with you with flow, not this kind of push-pull and what can actually be much, much worse, conflicted feelings about this. Alzheimer's disease, most dementias are progressive neurological illnesses. That means they're going to get worse over time. Over time, this husband may no longer recognize you as his wife. He may not know your name anymore, but he'll know and recognize and respond to the feeling tone that you are putting forward. He'll react to and respond to the safety, how safe you are making this interaction with him by not arguing, not making him wrong, not shaming him, and going with the flow. So that's basically the 4-step solution. Step 1, going to minimize stress and tension in any interaction. Step 2, how am I going to do that? I will not argue. I won't argue with a person who has dementia. I won't argue by joining in their reality. I'm joining in their reality by acknowledging in the positive that they want something, they need something, they said something, I heard them. And then getting creative. So that's the 4-step solution. I think I have seen that people have had questions. So let me pause here and pivot back to Alex and see.
Yeah. Any questions, or does anybody want to offer a scenario where Janie can help sort of walk you through this 4-step process with the bonus step? I'll also mention HFC is featuring a partnership on Thursdays with an organization called Laughter on Call. I will also put their website in the chat room, but they also use improv techniques to help with communication and interaction with loved ones with Alzheimer's and dementia. So every day at 3 p.m. Pacific time, they do something called Lunchtime Laughter. It's just a 30-minute kind of drop-in group where you can come in and learn and kind of practice the improv techniques. But then every Thursday, they're offering a session for HFC or through HFC where they do a little bit of a deeper dive into these improv techniques that Janie referred to. So I'll also put that in the chat room. So any questions, again, or sort of scenarios where we could practice applying some of these techniques? Also curious to hear people's reactions if you just want to chat, drop something in the chat room or the Q&A. And while we're waiting, Janie, maybe is there something you can offer in terms of how you've seen this work in your own practice or with some of your clients? Maybe there's an example you can give of kind of a before and after employing these techniques.
Yeah. There was a woman, not in my current support group, but several years ago, who relocated her mom from Brooklyn out to live with her in Santa Monica because the long distance caregiving was just too much for her to handle. And when her mom first moved out here, the client, the person in the support group, was driving her mom around, and her mom would start to point at things and say things like, "Oh, look, there's the Brooklyn Bridge." And at first, the daughter kept gently correcting her and saying, "Mom, you're in Santa Monica." Again, these knee-jerk reactions to be kind, but it's really the daughter's need to tell her mother the truth. It wasn't her mother's need to see what wasn't there. But regardless, she came to group and was talking about it, and it made her so sad that she'd gone through all of this effort to move her mom out to Santa Monica, and her mom was still seeing things from Brooklyn. But the group helped her to try and use this technique, and instead of correcting her mom, to imagine that she was seeing what her mom was seeing and how that made her mom feel more at home. These were memories that she had that she still held on to, and it turned into something that they could share together. So when you stop fighting with, what you don't want to see, it was what her mom saw, and she was able to join with her. But it also made me think of one other example to just underscore that this isn't a magic wand. There was a woman who needed to take her dad, I think it was, to a doctor's appointment. And they've been waiting weeks to get to this appointment. And the woman had to take time off work, and she had timed it out so that she could go pick up her dad, get to the doctor's office, park, get in, spend a half an hour, take dad home, get back to work. I mean, she had all of this carefully plotted out. But when she went to pick up her dad for the appointment, he was still sitting in his pajamas and having coffee and having breakfast. And when she walked in, he looked at her. He was happy to see her. But he said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "I'm here to take you to your doctor's appointment." And he said, "I don't have a doctor's appointment." So, if employing the 4-step solution right there is a tough one, because if you counter him and show him a calendar or show it on your phone, "I put it on my phone, Dad," show him a card from the doctor's office, it doesn't matter. To the dad, he didn't have a doctor's appointment that day. So when you get through using the whole 4-step solution and you even acknowledge that he's saying, "I don't have a doctor's appointment," in step 5, in that improv of what you're going to do next, you may have to not go to the doctor that day. If your decision is, am I investing in this long-term relationship, and do I want an ally, not an enemy, are you going to push that? And that's a tough one. I'm not saying there's, a perfect path. I'm just saying that sometimes you can get to step 5, and it could be that that person isn't going to take a bath that day or not keep that doctor's appointment. And those are really tough decisions.
Actually, Janie, that's a really good segue to our first question, or our first sort of scene, which is, he didn't shower in the morning, but he says that he showered. How can we follow the steps in this situation? I think you kind of alluded to it, but yeah, maybe you want to say a little more.
Yeah, it's such a good question, and how I wish in this instance I actually did have a magic wand. So there sometimes is no pretty way to get through that. What I would say is, you really don't want to challenge someone who says they showered when you can tell that they didn't. You may want to say, well, you know what? I brought over this really good shampoo or this, shower gel. And so the next time you might really enjoy it. I know I have enjoyed, it's like my own little spa day. You might just want to move past that and pick your battles. Is it really detrimental if that person didn't shower? Is it going to harm anything other than they may not look great or smell great? Water is really tough for people who have dementia. They don't, I think it's the senses and they get startled. But that's really, really common where people avoid and will even, like shut down when you need to help them bathe or shower. So much like the doctor's appointment example, pick your battle. Is it really important? Is there a way going forward that rather than challenge them and make them wrong, and then they're going to say, are you calling me a liar? Or they're going to do that, oh my God, I can't remember anything, and then they get depressed. Going forward, is there a way that you can make the aspect of a shower or a bath more inviting? That's probably your improv, bob and weave.
That's great. All right, well, we are at the 10-minute mark, and so we'll leave a few more minutes for any questions or scenarios, but Janie, I just thought, do you have any additional resources that you think would be helpful to guide people to at this point? I did put in the inthemoment.com web address and laughteroncall.com. But just in general, are there resources that you like to point people to on this journey?
Yes, yeah. So thanks for reminding me of that. It really does take a village. Nobody can do this alone. You don't need to become an honorary social worker, an honorary neurologist, and make yourself an expert in all of this. There are people who have expertise in their fields. As a social worker, as a case manager, that's often, I think, the value I bring to clients and their families is pointing them in the right direction, talking to them about power of attorney and insurances and all kinds of things that they may not know about. You don't have to. I know those things, and I'm here to try and help you. So wherever you are in your geography, you can find a senior center, you can find a nonprofit, you can find all kinds of agencies. And if you can't find it just by doing an internet search, check with a local physician because they know some of these community resources. And try and get connected to a nurse, a social worker, somebody who can provide some guidance, some case management. If money is not an issue, you can hire a private geriatric case manager. I'm making the assumption the person you're dealing with is older. They don't have to be to have dementia, but so people who have an expertise in sort of thinking about an overall case plan, and as the illness progresses, which it will, how to help you through each of those plateaus that you're going to reach. Don't think you're the Lone Ranger. It really, you can't be. You cannot handle this all alone. The Alzheimer's Association does have a 24-hour hotline, but also think about support groups. Think about your own therapy. As I started saying almost an hour ago, we all have stress and tension. It's really our responsibility to find ways to manage it. When you are a caregiver, it's like raining stress and tension. So build a team, know people you can go to, set limits, especially if you live with a person who has dementia. Put a sign on the bathroom door that says 5 minutes. I get 5 minutes. You can do that with a toddler too. 5 minutes that are just mine. You're going to have to set limits so that you can preserve your own sanity, your own balance, homeostasis to get through this. But definitely reach out to community organizations for case management. Call the Alzheimer's Association, ask them in your geographic area if they can refer you somewhere.
Yeah, really, really great tips. Well, Janie, I just thank you so much. This was really, really insightful and I think applicable in so many ways. I've added the steps and tips in the chat room for folks. Please feel free to check out more caregiver support programs on our website, www.wearehfc.org. Sign up for support groups or just drop into the weekly ones. Do what you can in the moment, be gentle with yourselves. And if you have any questions for us, please also feel free to reach out via email to info@wearehfc.org. And with that, hope everybody is well and has a wonderful weekend. Any parting words, Janie?
No, don't stress about trying to remember what was talked about today. It'll filter in, and what you need to pursue will stay in the front of your mind. So even if it's just, wonder where I can find some like case management support in my area, or adult daycare that's still operating, or whatever. Don't take any of this as an additional burden. Let it just sort of trust that the information that you need, you're going to follow up and pursue that.
I love that.
Thank you.
It's a great reminder. Thanks again. And everybody, thanks for joining. And we hope to see you again on next week's webinar. Have a great weekend.